There's a lot happening on this desk today. All right. All right, thank you. So I'm gonna make you co-host, but don't do anything. You'll need to go turn off your camera, and then we'll turn on your camera when you're ready, okay?
And then just turn your volume down.
I muted my computer.
All right, Brenda, you ready?
Yes.
Court is going to call 2019 CR 10448, State of Texas versus Christopher Saxon. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Michelle Hayden and Michael Villarreal for the state.
for the defense?
Nathan Sylvain and Valerie Headland for Mr. Saxon.
All right, and for the record, Mr. Saxon is present. Are both parties ready to proceed? State?
Judge, you're ready as soon as my partner steps back in.
All right, defense?
We're ready.
Okay. And my understanding, there was a preliminary matter.
Michael mentioned that.
He did, Judge.
Oh.
Period.
Yes, there's a preliminary matter.
Yes, Judge. Similar to our last trial, we have one witness here who is the listed complainant in the other cause number of the sexual assault case.
Mhm.
The state does not anticipate calling her. We will not be calling her as a witness at this trial. Other than if we were to get to punishment, as a punishment witness, and only as it relates to the case in which she is involved. She has no relationship to the other, the victim in this case. And so we're asking the court that she be excluded from the rule. As we previously discussed last trial. She's a victim in the case, and under Article 3603 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. She should be entitled to be able to sit through this case. And that based on her testimony, her hearing this testimony, I don't believe there can be any showing that it would affect her testimony and what happened to her on her case.
Right, so the state, you're saying that you're not going to call her as a witness in this case?
Once we get to punishment. Judge.
All right, and that will be coming to the court. Defense, are you planning on calling her as a witness?
Judge, I'm not planning on calling her as a witness, and I could not object more strongly to her being excluded from the rule. This is an individual who has accused this man of an offense that the state has already said that they're not in a position to be able to proceed on. Just having her present in the courtroom, even as a witness, disclosed to the defense as someone who may testify. And as the state just said, may testify in this proceeding.
Well, not in the state's case in chief. If
Not
she's
in-
gonna be in this courtroom, she's not testifying in the case in chief.
That's true, Judge, but at the same time, I want the court to take into consideration the effect it's going to have on Mr. Saxon sitting here when an accuser in another court case is sitting 15 feet away from him. This is not a fair trial if she's allowed to be in the courtroom. And we would argue that she is subject to the rule and in deference to a fair trial, so that Mr. Saxon can focus on the matter of hand, that she be excluded under the rule as a witness disclosed by the state.
All right, the state has stated that they're not calling her as a witness in the case in chief. The court is not going to allow them to call her as a witness in the case in chief if she is going to be in the courtroom.
Yes, Judge.
All right, so she will be allowed to be in the courtroom.
So you're overruling my objection?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and also I'm assuming that the person who's in the courtroom, who's the complainant in another case, is not going to be referred to by the state or the state's witnesses. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge. I have no intention of alluding to her that she's a potential witness in front of this jury. The victim on this case, Melissa Saxon, has no relationship, does not know this victim.
All right, just admonish your witnesses that they're not to mention at all that the person who's sitting in this courtroom is a complainant on another case.
Okay, I'll talk to Melissa right now.
At the
Yes.
same time, Judge, I'm going to object again because of the complaining witness in this other case, who again is listed in the state's disclosures to the defense as a witness in this case. and may still be called in punishment if we get that far. She is going to be listening to testimony, other witnesses that is going to potentially shape her opinions about what is appropriate and just if we get to guilt and punishment. This case does not involve her. This case, she's here, in my opinion, for purely vindictive reasons. There is no legitimate reason for her to be in this court. And she's here, in my opinion, to make Mr. Saxon uncomfortable. And I think she's doing a wonderful job doing that. And I think that in deference to fair trial, again, because the state has said she may give testimony on punishment after hearing testimony in a case she's not involved in, that it is highly inappropriate for her to be in the courtroom. And I would again urge that she be subject to the rule and excluded from the court.
All right, that'll be overruled. Is there anything else before we bring the jury in?
No, just if you just give me like 1.5 minutes to talk to Melissa, just to make sure that she's aware of the court's rule.
All right, thank you.
The judge at this time, we would ask the court to invoke the rule.
All right, the rule will be invoked.
And for the record, I would like the court to reflect that the complaining witness, Tammy McKeever, is in court.
All right, and that complaining witness is not so the record can be clear. The complaining witness who is sitting in the courtroom is not the complaining witness in the instant case, which is 2019 CR 10448. And the court has been informed that the state is not intending to call the complaining witness from 2020 CR 6576 to testify in its case in chief. And my understanding from the defense is that the defense is not calling the complaining witness in 2020 CR 6576 to testify in this case as well.
One more
Yes.
matter I'd like to bring up briefly, Judge.
Yes.
Before we begin, just because we want to avoid any other trial surprises or trial by ambush, and considering the age of this case and the fact that Mr. Saxon did tender detailed written requests for discovery weeks ago, we would ask the court to issue a ruling that any incriminating evidence or evidence the state would seek to present or turn over to the defense at this time be excluded as late discovery.
All right, then I don't know what the state has or what the state is intending to turn over until I actually see that. So if there's something, then defense needs to make appropriate objection and then the court will make a ruling on that. All right, can we bring the jury in? Yes.
All right, for the jury.
Oh, please be seated. We stand for you. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, I'm sorry for our late start. As I informed all of you all, we have docket each day, and that docket went a little bit past what we thought it would go past. And then I like to give everyone a chance to have some lunch, so no one will be cranky if they haven't had lunch. So what I'm gonna do, I know you all were given the oath downstairs, but I'm gonna give you the oath for this specific case. Could everyone raise your right hand for me, please? Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm in the case of the state of Texas versus Christopher Saxon, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hands. State. And Mr. Saxon, if you could rise.
True bill of indictment. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn as such at the September term AD 2019 of the 186th Judicial District Court of said county, in said court, at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 11th day of June 2019, Christopher Saxon, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly cause bodily injury to Melissa Saxon, a member of the defendant's family, household, or person with whom the defendant has or has had a dating relationship, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by striking the complainant with the hand of the defendant. And before the commission of the offense alleged above, on the 21st day of September 2017, in cause number 550680 in Bexar County, Texas, the defendant was convicted of the offense of assault, bodily injury, married, an offense against a member of the defendant's family, household, or a person with whom the defendant has or has had a rotating relationship against the peace and dignity of the state, signed foreman of the grand jury.
All right, Mr. Saxon, to that, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
All right, you may have a seat. State, do you have opening statements?
We do, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today you're going to hear from Melissa Saxon, who was previously married to the defendant, Christopher Saxon. But they divorced in April 2019. Now, when they divorced, Melissa stayed at their house at 21122 Santa Lucia in San Antonio. She lived there, the defendant moved out. But around 10 p.m. on June 11, 2019, Christopher Saxon showed up at her house. And he unlocked the door without her permission and went inside. When she saw him, he appeared intoxicated. She told him to leave. He didn't want to leave. She called his parents, and eventually she called the cops to get him to leave. And she tells the defendant that she's calling the police. The defendant gets done, he throws his phone, and it hits her wall and causes damages to her wall. Now he eventually leaves, but as he's walking out the door, he turns and strikes her, causing her to fall to the ground, strikes her with his hand. And he causes her pain and bodily injury while he's doing that. And you're actually going to see a video of the assault take place, because the assault was captured on Melissa's Ring doorbell. And you're going to see photographs of her injuries as well. You're also going to hear from Detective Soto with the San Antonio Police Department who investigated this case. And you're going to hear from a fingerprint examiner, Bobby Segovia. And you're going to see the prior judgment that the defendant had for the previous case, the assault bodily injury married against the same victim, Melissa Saxon. And after hearing all the evidence, we're going to ask that you return a verdict of guilty. Thank you.
Defense,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you're welcome.
Please support counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, good afternoon. Yesterday was a very long day for you, especially long day for Chris. We've been waiting 3 years for today. So everyone here, especially Chris, very grateful for your sacrifice and willingness to be here to perform this to the duty. So thank you. Now, this trial, as the state said, is a story about Christopher and Melissa. In fact, it's the final chapter of a long story of Christopher and Melissa. The evidence is going to show that this 19-year relationship they had was dysfunctional and toxic, marked with codependency, alcoholism, and violence. The marriage, thankfully, has been over, and the evidence will also show that both Christopher and Melissa have moved on and are better people. Now, We do not dispute that Christopher has been arrested before. He was. What the evidence is also going to show is that 5 years ago, Chris was arrested and accused of assaulting Melissa during one of their fights. The evidence is going to also show that as a result of Christopher being arrested, he was given a young court-appointed attorney who, on only the 30th day after being appointed, had Chris enter a plea for deferred adjudication, which is a special type of probation on that charge. It's a special type of probation that if you finish it satisfactorily, the case is dismissed. The evidence is going to show that Chris did not plead guilty to that first assault. He followed his young attorney's advice, waived his right to a jury trial. Nevertheless, he was not found guilty, and that charge against him was ultimately dismissed. I expect the evidence in this case is going to show something else. That after Chris's case was dismissed, he and Melissa resumed their toxic, codependent marriage once again. And they had another son. Except this time, the evidence will show that Melissa was arrested for assaulting that Chris, causing obvious injuries to his face. The evidence will also show that the officer investigating Melissa's assault against Chris requested an emergency protective order to protect him, ordering Melissa to stay away from him. The evidence will further show that Melissa chose to violate that protective order designed to protect him from Melissa, and she was arrested again. Now, I expect what the state is going to argue is that on that June evening, over 3 years ago,
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
here's what the evidence is going to show. They mentioned a ring glow, which, if you are able to see that, might show a few seconds of a 19-year dysfunctional relationship. Asking a jury to define the conduct, the decisions of these two individuals in 19 seconds after 19 years of dysfunctional, toxic.
Objection
codependency
argumentative.
Sustained.
Here's what I expect the evidence is going to show. Chris and Melissa, although recently divorced, not 3 months before the date of the incident question, were back in their codependency mode, and caught up in yet another one of their classic fights during another possible reconciliation. The evidence will also show that Chris, after being attacked and assaulted verbally and physically again by Melissa, was merely trying to leave the house, and Melissa wouldn't let him go. We feel confident that after considering all the evidence, you will find that he did not do anything he did not do anything within the reasonable person would not do under the circumstances, and that you will deliver a verdict not guilty. Now, you are not going to see any medical records from Melissa. You're not going to hear any medical testimony regarding any injuries to Melissa. It's possible you might see some photographs that were taken, but you will have to decide what, if anything, they actually show and what.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Folks, I will be reminded that this is a court of law. You've been sworn by the judge to follow the law, not your hearts, not your gut feeling, but the law. And unless you find, after hearing all the evidence in this case, that the government has proved every element of the offense charge beyond a reasonable doubt, that your duty under your sworn oath is to find Chris not guilty. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, at this time to withhold your judgments until you've heard all the evidence in this case from all the witnesses. And I'm confident that upon hearing all of the evidence, you will render a verdict that is fair. We believe that the prosecution will not be able to prove that Christopher is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We expect to have you deliberate, carefully consider all the evidence in this case. You will return to all possible verdicts. Which one not guilty.
Right, state, call your first witness.
State calls Bobby Segovia.
All right, if you will raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, if you lower your hand and if you could state your name for the record.
My name is Bobby Segovia.
All right, and just make sure you keep your voice up so that the jurors can hear and so that the court reporter can hear. And to the jurors, if there's something you can't hear, or you're not able to hear, just raise your hand and let us know. And also, I didn't tell you this beforehand, but if anytime you need a break, just raise your hand. Either the deputies will see it or attorneys for the defense or the state will see it and they'll let me know. All right, thank you. State.
Good afternoon. Could you please tell the jury how you're employed?
I'm employed with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office as a fingerprint examiner.
And what does a fingerprint examiner do?
We verify prints, we classify them and we compare them to incoming the bookings.
And when you say print, are you talking about fingerprint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is a fingerprint?
A fingerprint is basically your 10 fingers. They create a pattern with a bunch of ridges and make certain type of patterns for that certain person.
And do any two people have the same fingerprint?
No, ma'am.
And what sort of training and background did you have to become a fingerprint examiner?
Basically, Bexar County put us through some courses of classification and comparison prints.
And what did you do before you became a fingerprint examiner?
I worked about 9 years at juvenile detention and intake.
And how long have you been a fingerprint examiner?
Going on, coming up on 2 years.
And what sort of things do you do day to day as a fingerprint examiner?
We compare prints from incoming from people that get arrested daily. When they get arrested, we compare fingerprints. So if they're established, we compare them to make sure that's the person. If there's a warrant, we compare them to the fingerprints that we have on file to the person. And we also, for new people that never been arrested, we classify.
And when you say established, what does that mean?
Established, they've been arrested before.
And then when you say classify, what does that mean?
Basically, you have 10 fingers and they go on patterns, and we each finger has a pattern, and we put in a kind of a classification from top to bottom, certain way where how we're trained.
And I guess what are you classifying?
Basically, the ridges, like if there's patterns, certain ridges make like a loop or whirl, and then we jot it down on each. So each person has a certain, then we count. Each finger has a number, like a counting system, and that's how we count them and add them and put them all on the fingerprint card.
And is there a certain number of ridges you're looking for in doing fingerprint comparison?
Basically, if it's a whirl, we're kind of comparing because there's deltas on the side ends. So if they come inside of it, it's an inner whirl, so we don't count them. On loops, we count from the delta to the core. So it could be from 3 to like 24 or 30. So it depends on the person. Each finger has a different pattern and we count. Yeah.
And on a day-to-day basis, how many different fingerprint comparisons would you say you do each day?
On the day-to-day, on the low end, maybe 20, on the high end, maybe 70.
And you said you're comparing people who've been arrested. Do you do any other type of comparison? Are there any systems you use?
Yeah, we use the APIS system, so that when they fingerprint them in the booking, they come to us on our, it's called APIS, and we compare them to there. And also we compare like their identifiers and SIN number. SIN number is basically a Bexar County ID number. So when a person's been established, they have a DPS number that's by DPS. They put that number. Bexar County has their own number, their date of birth, their case number. That's all different on each person.
And have you testified before regarding fingerprint examination in the courts of Bexar County?
It's not.
And fingerprint identification, is that something that's widely accepted and used throughout the United States?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what an inked print is?
Ink print basically is what I did today, so you get an ink and you get a card and you get the person's fingerprint, so we fingerprint 10, so each finger is a number. So we get a print and we get the ridges and everything on one side, so it's 1 through 10, up and down, from right to left, we get 4 on the bottom and 2 thumbs on the bottom.
And you mentioned that when someone's arrested, that their fingerprints are taken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what are they maintained on?
They're maintained, and they have a machine, it's called Smart Scan. And they basically have a machine in booking area that does all the prints and puts them through the system so we can get them in our office.
What are drop cards?
Drop cards basically identifiers, so when they get arrested, from like the date, the name, the birthday, the SIN number, the DPS number. Sometimes they have SAPD, they have their own numbers. They have address, it comes with all the information we have on that certain person.
And in your position, are you a custodian of records for the drop cards?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you bring any drop cards with you today?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
Did you bring some drop cards relating to Christopher Saxon?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Those drop cards? And these records that you brought, are they kept in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it the regular practice of BCSO to maintain these records?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they created by an employee representative at the time that these drop cards are created?
Yes, ma'am.
In this case, do you know when these drop cards were created?
So it was created on 07/29/2017.
So July 29, 2017. And are these exact duplicates of the original drop cards?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do they have the defendant's fingerprints on them as well?
Yes, ma'am, on the back.
Your Honor, at this time, we would offer State's Exhibit 1 into evidence. Pending any objection from defense counsel?
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
Okay, can you read that?
I'm looking at your side.
I'll look at this one. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me who the defendant is on these drop cards?
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
And can you tell me what the case number is on these drop cards?
550680.
And can you tell me what the SID number is?
The number is 547697.
And the SID number, that's what you were talking about, the identification number?
Yes, that's the one Bear County uses.
Okay, can you just explain to the jury what that SID number is?
Basically, when people come in, we assign a certain SIN number by the time they're arrested. So it goes from, just say that day, 547-697, the next person will be 547-698. So it just goes down there when you come in.
Okay, and then the case number right there?
The case number, we don't issue the case number.
That 550680,
Yes, I think that's.
and on the back, are these the defendant's fingerprints?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm showing you what's been marked as state exhibit 2. Can you tell me what that is?
It's for the judgment packet.
And what is the defendant's name on that?
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
In state exhibit 3?
Part of the judgment packet too.
And who's the defendant's name on that?
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
And Judge, I've shown both these items to defense, and we're offering these as certified public documents.
We're not objection.
All right, state exhibits number 2 and 3 are admitted without objection.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me who the defendant's name is on this judgment?
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
The cause number?
550680.
And was that the same cause number that was on your draft cards?
What about to see the doc part? Yeah, like to try to- Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me what the offense is?
Assault, body injury, marriage.
Can you tell me what the offense date is on this?
21st of September 2017.
Or the court date, I should say? I'm showing you what's been marked and admitted as state exhibit 3. The information in this case. Can you tell me what that cost number is there?
It's 550680.
The defendant's name
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
on the SID number?
The number is 547697.
On the offense?
Assault, body injury, marriage.
Now, today, did you have the opportunity to fingerprint Christopher Saxon?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you see him somewhere in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, could you please identify him by an article of clothing that he's wearing?
Here's the green shirt.
And could you point out where he's sitting? Your Honor, made the record reflect that he's identified the defendant. So can you tell the jury how you took the defendant's fingerprint?
I was just doing the fingerprints.
Yeah.
I called him over here. I did each finger, I ate every finger, rolled it from finger 1 to finger 10. Finger 1 is from the right side from the thumb. From 1, 2, 3, 4, that's the right, 5 to the right hand, and then 6 to 10 is the left hand. I figured.
And do you have the card that you took his fingerprints on?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm marking this in state exhibit 4. Are these the fingerprints that you took of the defendant, Christopher Saxon?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, based on your comparison, or as part of taking Christopher Saxon's fingerprints, did you compare them to any items that you brought with you today?
Yes, ma'am, the dog card.
Okay. And how did you go about doing that?
I use one of my magnified glass, my magnified glass, I think. And I did finger 2 on the back of the dog card and compared it to the one I did today.
And in your opinion, are the fingerprints on the back of the drop card the same as or from the same person that you fingerprinted today?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that?
Christopher Matthew Saxon.
And so the person that you ID'd in court, the person whose fingerprints you took match up to the person on the drop card, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the cause number on the drop card, is that the same cause number that was on the judgments and the information that I showed you?
Yes, ma'am.
So in your opinion, they are from the same person?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions for this witness.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall? State?
Excused.
Defense?
That's fine, Judge. We don't anticipate.
All right, you're excused, but the rule has been invoked. What that means, you cannot discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state and attorneys for the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
State, call your next witness.
They called Melissa Saxon.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll take a seat and state your name for the record, please.
Melissa Saxon.
All right, and can you make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear and that the jurors can hear? All right, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Melissa.
Good afternoon.
Melissa. You can just introduce yourself to the jury. Are you from San Antonio?
Not originally. I was born here, but I grew up in what you would call an army brat, but I've been back for 27 years.
And what do you currently do for work?
I'm a realtor.
As far as children are concerned, how many children do you
I have one,
have? And what's your child's
Jacob.
name? And who's Jacob's father?
My first husband.
Um. And not to age yourself, and not to apply to ask a woman's age, how old is she?
Jacob's 24.
So, as far as a person by the name of Christopher Saxon, do you know him?
I do.
And how do you know him?
He is my husband.
And do you recall when you were married?
Yes. March 10th, 2012.
And you said that y'all are divorced?
We are
When was your divorce?
April 11th, 2019.
So prior to your, and I should ask, April 11th of 2019, is that when your divorce was finalized?
It was
Prior to that, were you in divorce proceedings?
2 other times I had filed.
Do you remember prior to April 11th of 2019, were you residing with the defendant?
I was
Okay. And as of April 11th of 2019, were you residing with the defendant?
not
Where were you residing?
in my house.
What's the,
Was awarded to me in the divorce.
and what's the address?
21122 Santa Lucia, San Antonio, Texas, 78259.
Is that located here in Bear County, Texas?
It is.
And is that where you resided at least up until June 11th of 2019?
It is.
And from the period of April 11th, 2019 up until June 11th, 2019, was Christopher Saxon residing with you during any of that period of time?
He was not.
In regards to Christopher Saxon, do you see him in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Can you point at him and identify him by piece of clothing?
Part my left and a seafoam colored shirt and tie, glasses.
You are made the record, but this witness is identified the defendant. Are you under subpoena to be here today?
I am.
I want to direct your attention to June 11th of 2019. Kind of earlier part of that day. Were you in San Antonio?
I was
And what were you doing?
probably working.
Okay. At some point, did you come into contact with Christopher?
I did.
And do you remember what part of the day?
It was in the evening.
Okay. And how did you come into contact with him?
He showed up to my house and was banging on the door. And when I opened it, he had a laundry basket in his hand and just kind of pushed his way through my house.
Okay. When he showed up, were you expecting him to show up?
I was not.
And when he showed up and he was banging on the door and he kind of said, pushed his way in, did you notice anything about his demeanor?
Yes.
What did you notice?
He was intoxicated.
Have you seen him intoxicated before?
Many,
So it's pretty consistent with what you remember?
Yes.
When he knocks on your door with, and you know, has the basket with him, is he saying anything to you?
I don't recall exactly what he said, but he showed up unannounced. And I just told him to get out, to leave.
So did he actually make his way inside of your house?
He did,
How far inside of your house did he get?
to my living room, like, just right there when my door opened,
So as soon as your door opens, it opens up into the living room?
it does.
When he's inside, without telling me specifically what you're telling him, what are you wanting him to do?
Leave,
Are you communicating that to him?
very much so.
And what is his response to that?
No,
So is he willing to leave?
no,
What steps did you take, if any, to try to get him to leave?
yelling at him to get out of my house. I called his parents, begged and pleaded with them to talk to him, because I had the phone on speaker. To beg and pleaded with them to try to talk him into leaving my house, prior to me calling the cops.
As far as his parents are concerned, I should backtrack. Do you know where he was residing at that time?
He was either staying with a girlfriend he had at the time or his parents. I believe he was back and forth.
When you call his parents, and you have this conversation with them, is at that point, is he willing to leave?
No,
So after you talk to his parents, what happens next?
he's not willing to leave, and then I told him that I was gonna call the cops. He threw his phone at a wall in my house, and I was just, again, yelling at him to leave. And then I told him I was gonna get on the phone and call the cops. I had my phone in my hands. And then he started towards walking through, towards the front door, I'm sorry. And he tried to grab the phone out of my hand, and I told him to stop. And then, he was going to walk out, and then I was standing right at the door, getting ready to shut it. And then he turns around, and today's terminology, you call it sucker punch, but it wasn't a punch. A punch to me is a closed fist. He like backhanded me, and it hit me on to the left side of my face.
So I want to back up and do this a little bit step by step. When he, prior to him throwing the phone at you, what was his demeanor like?
He's a mean drunk.
And you said he threw the phone, his phone at the wall.
He did.
Did that cause any damage?
To my wallet did.
And then you said, you tell him that you're gonna call the police, right?
Mhm.
And then he starts walking towards the door.
He tried to grab the phone from me, and I yelled at him to stop, and pushed him off of me, and then he walks it to the door.
So when he tries to get the phone away from you, is he saying anything to you?
That moment, I don't recall what was said.
Okay.
As he's walking out the door, yes.
And then you said he walks the door. He walks out of the door.
He had walked right where the threshold is.
And then you say he turns around and he sucker punches.
Yes.
As far as your house is concerned, do you have any security devices?
I do.
And what security devices do you have?
I have a Ring camera.
Yes.
So as far as your reading camera system, or the camera rather, how long have you had that camera?
I've had it for approximately a year and a half.
So were you comfortable with using it?
I was.
Were you familiar with how it works?
Yeah.
For those who might not have a ring camera, can you just generally describe how that camera works?
So I have the camera located on a tree in my front yard, to where it is facing my driveway, my garage, and my front door area. And it has batteries. I charge it when the batteries are low and it's motion activated. So anytime it picks up motion, it starts recording.
And are those recordings, are they stored?
In the app,
And are you able to retrieve those recordings?
I am.
As far as the device is concerned, and as it relates to the particular video in this case, once you had the video, were you able to send it to anybody?
I am.
And do you remember who you sent the video to in this case?
San Antonio Police Department requested it when they came to my house. I automatically sent it to my best friend, because at that point, I don't know if I had changed all the login information, if he could have retrieved it and deleted it.
You're my approach.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna show you what's been marked as safety exhibit numbers 5 and 6 for identification purposes. Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
And what do those photographs depict?
A wall in my house when Chris threw his phone.
Okay, so is this the damage that Chris caused to the house by throwing the phone?
It is.
And do these photos truly and accurately represent the damage caused on June 11, 2019? Truly, fairly and accurately.
They do.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as safety exhibits number 7, 8, 9, and 10. You can look at this briefly. What's generally, what is depicted in safety exhibits number 7 through 10?
The left side of my face, over here by my eye, where I was hit.
So are these photographs of you?
They are.
And are they photographs of you on June 11th of 2019?
They are.
Do you remember how long after these pictures were taken as it relates to when Chris back in?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer that question
Within the hour.
within the hour. And do these truly and accurately represent your face as it looked like on June 11th of 2019?
They do.
Your Honor, at this time, state would move to admit states exhibits numbers 5 through 10 and tendering to defense for objections if any, and is previously tendered a discovery.
No objection.
All right, states exhibits 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are admitted without objection.
And Your Honor, may I have a question?
Yes.
So I'm gonna go through some of these photographs with you. Hopefully, if I'm right with the technology, you should be able to see it on your screen. Damn, I swear. All right. I'm gonna show you what's been admitted as state's exhibit number 5. You previously testified that that was the damage to your wall, right?
Correct.
And where in relation to the front door is this located?
So right when you walk into my house, my door opens to the left and it's just right past the door. I have a huge wall on my left-hand side.
And I'm gonna show you what's been admitted at state's exhibit number 6. Is that just a closer photo of the wall?
It is.
And I'm gonna show you what's been admitted at state's exhibit number 7. Is that just an overall shot of you?
It is.
I'm gonna move to state's exhibit, and I should back up. When he backhanded you, do you remember where he hit you on your body?
Right here on the left side of my upper cheekbone to my upper eyebrow.
So I'm gonna show you what's been admitted in state's exhibit number 9. Is that the left side of your face?
It is.
And what if any visible injuries do you see on your face?
It just looks a little red
And again, when were these photos taken?
within the hour of the intent.
And then safety exhibit number 10, is that just kind of a closer shot of that? So at the time that these photographs were taken, the photographs, did you have any bruising?
Not at the time.
Subsequent to that, did any bruising develop?
When I woke up the next day.
So the next day you have bruising had developed to your hip.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
So the next morning, were there bruises on your face?
There was.
Yeah, may I approach?
Yes.
What's that? I'm gonna show you what's been marked as safety exhibit number 11 for identification purposes. Do you recognize safety exhibit number 11?
I do.
Okay, and are your initials contained on safety exhibit number 11?
They are.
Did you have an opportunity prior to testifying here in court today to review safety exhibit number 11?
I have
Did you review it partially or entirely?
entirely.
And in reviewing it, does it appear that the video has been changed or altered in any way?
Not at all.
As it relates to safety exhibit number 11, is this the full recording of what the ring video captured?
It is.
Did you change it, alter it, shorten it by any way?
No.
So this is the video that was delivered to you based on your ring camera. And safety exhibit number 11. Does it depict truly and accurately and fairly depict the events that you described for the jury on June 11th of 2019?
Captured the whole thing.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit safety exhibit number 11. Any objection to any and is previously considered to be so.
Yes, Judge, may I approach?
Yes. Right, thanks. You're requesting to take the witness on board there.
Yes, Judge, thank you. Melissa, good afternoon. With regard to this video, you said that this recorded incidents that took place on June the 11th of 2019. Do you remember the day that you actually provided this to SAPD?
I
I'm
believe.
gonna check this because outside the scope of authentication.
That would be sustained.
Your Honor, what day did you give this to police?
Again, same objection.
That will be sustained.
Would you agree with me that it took 11 days for you to give this to the police?
Same objection, Your Honor.
That will be sustained.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Melissa, you said that you had the Ring camera for about a year and a half,
I have
and so you're familiar with this operation.
familiar with what it does, yeah.
Do you have to manually turn the camera on and off?
I do not.
Is the camera always recording?
Whenever it's motion activated, yes,
When there's motion activated, it begins recording.
it does.
Does the door opening cause the camera to begin recording?
Pretty sure. Based for my house, yeah.
When you say pretty sure. Is what causes motion, is what causes the camera to start recording. So I guess my question is it your testimony that when this video begins, that's the beginning of motion on what triggered the camera to start?
When the door opened, yes,
Okay. Were there times during the day when you would turn the camera on and off?
no,
Was the camera running at the time that Chris came over?
it was,
Okay. Is Chris coming over to the house part of this video?
this particular video,
Yes.
no,
Why not?
it's from the moment the door was open when he was inside. When I wanted him to leave,
Okay. Was there a recording of Chris showing up at the house?
Judge, I'm going to object to, again, outside the scope of order, it's written self-medication.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer the question.
I'm sorry, say it again,
So was there a recording of Chris showing up at the house?
there must have been, yes, it only records for a certain amount of time,
Okay.
each period,
Did you give the video? Was that part of this video, Chris showing up at the house?
that video, no,
So were there separate files, separate videos?
there's one of that. And then there's one when he comes back to my house the same night. And then, there must be one right before it,
So 3 videos.
right, because there's 3 separate incidences, yeah.
Okay, and the first, but we only have one video, that's the one of this incident?
But the assault, yes,
Okay, now. Can you tell the jury why the other 2 incidents are not part of this video?
I have no idea.
Did you give it to the police?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance and outside the scope.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer.
Did I give the other ones to the police? I don't recall.
Do you recall if the police asked you for the other parts of the video?
I don't recall.
Okay, so you will agree with me that this video that you've initialed does not record all the activity at your door on this day.
All of it? No. The assault? Yes.
Okay, let me ask my question again. You agree with me that this video that you've chosen, what portions of it to give to law enforcement, does not show the entirety of the interactions at your door on this day?
I didn't choose the portions.
Answer my
Exactly.
question. Listen to my question. Does this video, you agree with me, this video does not show the entirety of interactions at your door on this day?
Judge, that's an answer.
She has not answered.
All
The
right,
entire day? No.
just 1 second. Can I have parties approach? All right, any other questions?
Yes, Judge, if I have just one. Melissa, with regard to video of Chris showing up at the house, is that something you still have in your possession?
Judge, I'm going to go outside the scope of order.
That'll be sustained.
Nothing further. Judge.
All right, any objection to State's Exhibit number 11?
Yes, Judge, we would object that it is incomplete and that there are questions about how this may have been edited to exclude portions of the video portions of the activity on that day because it is incomplete, apparently arguably edited. We would object to its information.
State,
Judge, she's sufficiently authenticated, it's true to accurate depiction, she's described how these recordings work, and it's entirety of the recording, so. If any of that argument has any relevance, it is to the way found in this.
all right, State's Exhibit number 11 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge, may I publish?
Yes.
I love technology, Judge, don't you?
Have you hit share screen? There we are.
Okay, Melissa, now that the jury's seen State's Exhibit number 11, that basket that's at the end of the video, is that the same basket you brought to your house?
It is.
And when he backhanded you, what did it feel like?
Objection, leading.
Same,
Judge, I'm asking how she felt.
that makes the same.
How did you feel when he backhanded you?
Objection, leading.
That will be the same.
How did you feel?
Objection, Your Honor, that's an incomplete question.
Well, I have to ask.
That will be overruled.
How did you feel?
Well, right when it happened, I saw stars. It hurt. And all I could do is just cry. I didn't know what to do.
Did you feel pain?
I did.
Did it hurt?
It did.
What caused the pain and for it to hurt?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
You can answer that question.
the cause of the pain was because Chris hit me.
And is that hit contained in state exhibit number 11?
It is.
When you reviewed states, when you hear states exhibit 11 and you reviewed it, is there anything that you particularly noticed about the sound?
It was loud.
So after what's depicted in state's exhibit number 11 happens, what happens next?
I called San Antonio Police Department.
Why did you call the San Antonio Police Department?
I just been hit by my ex-husband.
Did you report that to police?
I'm sorry,
Were you trying to report to police?
I was.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Do you recall what Christopher Saxon looked like on June 11th of 2019?
Yeah.
I'll show you what's in Marcus State's exhibit number 12 for identification purposes. Do you recognize the person exhibited in State's exhibit number 12?
Thank you.
And who do you recognize it to be?
Chris Bachman.
And did that truly and accurately reflect and represent how Christopher Saxon looked like on June 11th of 2019?
Is that
Yeah, at the time, the state was moved to State's exhibit number 12.
Your Honor, we would object. This, we've already conceded that Mr. Saxon was at the house. This is
I need to see the photo.
Your Honor, it's a booking photo. Everybody agrees this is Christopher Saxon. There's no disagreement that Christopher Saxon was at the house. Under 403, we would argue that they're just trying to introduce this for prejudicial effect as a criminal booking photo. There's no relevant probative value of introducing this photo.
They responded.
Just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, do you need a break? Or no? All right, if I can have parties approach. Yes, state's exhibit number 12 is admitted. And defense, if you would like to stop the share screen, you can.
Oh.
I'm sorry, state.
I know what you mean.
Thank you.
Right, Melissa, I'm gonna show you what's been admitted as state's exhibit number 12. On June 11th, 2019. Did you cause any injuries to your knowledge to Christopher Saxon?
I did not,
And do you see any injuries reflected in state's exhibit number 12?
I do not.
Melissa, I'm gonna show you what's been already admitted as state's exhibit number 3. As it relates to this case, it states that the defendant did then intentionally, knowingly, recklessly cause bodily injury to another, namely Melissa Saxon. Are you the same Melissa Saxon that's reflected in state's exhibit number 3?
I am.
And I'm gonna show you what's been admitted in state's exhibit number 2, which is the deferred adjudication. You notice at the top, it reads right here, no contact with Melissa Saxon. Are you the same Melissa Saxon that's reflected in state's exhibit number 2?
I am.
As it relates to and state's exhibit number 3. On July 28th of 2017, what was your relationship with Christopher Saxon at that point?
We were married.
At that point, you had not been divorced yet.
That's it.
When during your testimony, you described as him, Christopher Saxon back in. What do you mean by that?
Objection asked and answered.
Be overruled.
You can answer that question.
Well, as he was, when I thought leaving my house, I was coming to shut the door all the way, and that's when he turned around and hit me as I'm walking this way to shut my door. He turns around and hits me right here.
And what does he hit your body with?
His hand.
I'll pass the question.
Your Honor, dispense to request a short break. A restroom break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you a break if everyone can be back at 3:10. You've heard some evidence in this case. You're not allowed to deliberate or to talk about it amongst yourself. Just make sure you keep your badges on in case there are some other people around, so they'll recognize you as a jury, won't speak about any cases to you, okay? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is that you're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state and attorneys for the defense. You understand? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. Four was not admitted. Oh, yes, sure. All right, defense,
Yes, John. No, we're proceed.
yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon again, Melissa. How long have you known Chris?
2,000,
So over 20 years.
I have
How long were you guys together before you finally got married?
10.
So you were together for 10 years, and then finally a decision was made to get married?
I guess my math isn't out of there, but we were roughly together for 10, yes, and then we got married.
How would you describe your relationship before you got married?
It's rocky, good and bad times.
Chris always to blame?
Probably 95% of the time.
Why did you end up getting married?
We loved each other. We're together for a long time. Thought that the time was right.
Is it fair to say that you had a very passionate relationship?
Sometimes.
Melissa, one of the things that you had said in response to a question by the prosecutor was that you're here because you're under subpoena. Is that correct?
It is.
What is a subpoena?
The subpoena is a document that you're being sent to show to court.
That you're ordered to come to court?
Correct.
Were you were served with that document?
I was.
When were you served with that document?
2 days ago.
Was it your desire to be here today?
I mixed emotions.
You weren't sure?
Mixed emotions.
When was the last time you saw Chris before today?
Roughly a month ago,
What was that regarding?
I
What were the circumstances of seeing Chris about a month ago?
he never changed his address when we got divorced, and so I had mail piled up, and I was on a listing appointment, and I dropped off mail at his work.
Did you call him beforehand and tell him you were gonna come by his work?
I did.
Did you ask him to get you a bottle of water?
I did.
Okay, did he get you a bottle of water?
Not from the store, from his work, yeah. When I called him, he was at the store. I said, hey, can you pick me up a bottle of water?
How many times did you file for divorce in the time that you all were together?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance.
That would be overruled.
How many times did you file for divorce during the relationship with Chris?
3 times.
Were you divorced 3 times?
We were not.
There's reconciliation
There was.
and then failed,
Correct.
then filed another divorce. And then reconciliation. And then finally, a third divorce.
Correct.
And that was finalized in April of 2019.
It was.
You and Chris don't have any children together.
We do not.
So the events that we saw in that video on June the 11th of 19, that's approximately 3 months after you were divorced.
2 months.
2 months. As you recall, what kind of relationship did you have with Chris at the time? In June, the beginning of June 2019.
Tumultuous.
What does that mean?
It was constant bickering. Constant, phone calls. It wasn't nice.
And this is in the period immediately before this incident. That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
So you wouldn't describe your relationship with Christopher as cordial?
Not really. Not right after the divorce, no.
But you are a first witness.
Yes.
Melissa, do you recall giving a sworn statement to the police the day after this incident?
Day after,
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
I'm gonna hand you a document. I'm gonna ask you if you recognize that.
I'm sorry, I don't have my readers on today. I don't have my readers today.
So my question was, do you recognize that as a statement that you made to the police the day after?
Parts that I read. Yes.
Okay, but you do recognize it. Do you recognize that as your full and complete sworn statement to the police the day after?
I haven't read the whole thing.
Is that your signature on it?
Yes.
I'd like you to read the jury the first sentence of the fourth paragraph and begin with Christopher.
Judge, I'm gonna object for this witness reading from a document that hasn't been admitted into.
It's just for recollection, Judge.
Gotta be sustained.
Melissa, what does that document contain?
Has a case number, a date and time.
Is it your statement to the police on June the 12th?
Without me fully reading it, it appears to be if I sign the date of it. I'm sorry. I don't have readers on me today. I mean, I can read it, it's just gonna be a minute.
Would you agree that you told the police on the day that you and Christopher still have a cordial relationship?
It appears I said that, yes.
And that's different from what you just told the jury a moment ago. Can you explain why?
Because I don't remember anything nice after our divorce.
You would agree that a statement that you gave at the time is probably better than your recollection now 3 years later, correct?
Probably not.
Your recollection of what happened 3 years ago is better now than it was at the time?
Well, no, at the time it's probably better, yeah. But I mean, as 3 years pass, you start remembering things.
Okay, so my question is, at the time, do you recall telling the police that you and Christopher have a cordial relationship?
I do not personally recall it, but it's here on the paper.
You don't deny.
I don't recall saying it.
My question is, you don't deny.
I guess not.
What were you doing on that day during the day?
Working.
Where?
I'm a realtor. I show houses. I work
What
from
city were
home.
you in?
What?
What city were you in on that day?
Same, something I would assume.
Were you in Austin, Texas that day?
The day that this incident happened,
Yes.
I don't recall.
Do you recall telling the police on the day that earlier in the day you were in Austin with your son?
I don't recall that, but I could read it. I don't recall.
Okay, do you deny telling the police that you're in Austin, Texas on the day with your son?
Probably not. I was in Austin a lot.
Were you aware that Christopher was inside the house while you were in Austin? I'm not asking what the document says, I'm just asking if you remember.
No, I don't.
You don't recall. Okay. And you don't recall telling the police that Christopher was at the house on the day that you were in Austin.
I don't remember what I said now.
Do you dispute saying that to the police the day after? Was Christopher, how long had Christopher not been living at the house as of June the 12th, June the 11th, 2019?
He woke up April 11th, went to work and was never allowed back,
It was never allowed back.
was no longer his house.
Wasn't your testimony to the jury earlier that you opened the door for him when he came over? I'm asking your testimony earlier in the day.
Oh, when he came over in the evening, yeah,
Yes, you
I opened the
door.
door.
You remember telling the police that he used the key to let himself in?
That night.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, because I remember I switched my lock after that again.
So which is it? He used the key to let himself in or you opened the door for him?
I don't recall. Maybe I heard the thing opening and I got up and opened the door.
So you don't recall?
I don't recall exactly, no. I got hit.
This is before you got hit.
I understand that, but I got hit that night, so no, I don't recall.
So it's best that we rely on this document you gave at the time.
Sure.
Was Christopher allowed in the house?
No,
Did he know that?
yes,
Why'd you open the door?
because he came to the house.
But you didn't want him.
I understand that. But
I'm asking, you didn't want him there,
correct, but I
but you
still,
opened the door.
I did, absolutely.
So if the state in their argument says that it's your testimony that Chris had a key and let himself in, that's not correct.
I don't recall.
So it's possible that Chris did not have a key, did not let himself in. It's possible.
I
As you said to the
remember,
jury
I
that-
remember after that incident, I changed the locks. So I do remember that. And I had an extra deadbolt put on my house.
Earlier this afternoon, you told the jury that you opened the door and let him in.
Right,
You do remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay, so he did not have a key that he used to let himself.
If he had a key, I heard it in the thing. I'm sitting on the couch when all this happened. My couch was right by my front door. And I jumped up and opened up the door.
Is there any reason why you didn't tell that to the police the day after this happened?
I don't know.
Do you remember telling Chris that you would like for him to not be at the house by the time you got home from Austin?
I don't recall that.
You denied telling that to the police. This is your sworn statement with your signature.
Okay, but I can't read it, sir. I mean, barely.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be argumentative, but it didn't seem like you had any difficulty reviewing any of the state's exhibits.
You mean pictures?
I mean,
I
the
can
written,
I can see
written,
pictures.
so
You want to put this on there and blow it up and I can see it, sir.
I will do that.
Thank
And
you.
just real quickly, the court reporter here, she has to write down everything that we say,
Okay,
and it makes it really hard to talk over each other. So I promise to finish what I need to say before I let you speak. If you wouldn't mind letting me finish. So we can get it done. This will be number one. Your Honor, this is going to be defendant's exhibit number one, tender it to the state for objection.
We have no objections, Judge.
All right, you're offering defense exhibit 1 into evidence?
Yes.
All right, defense exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection. Yes.
All right, Melissa. Are you able to read that now?
I am.
And just to be clear, this is your signature, correct?
Yes,
At the bottom, and that's dated 6/12/19. That is the day after this incident happened,
that is.
correct? And you agree that your recollection of the circumstances around this event were better at the time than they are now.
Possibly, yes.
Possibly, so it's possible that you remember them better now
No.
than you did at the
I'm sorry.
time?
They're probably better at that time, yeah.
You said to the jury earlier that you did not have a cordial relationship with Christopher at the time. Now, at the top of that fourth paragraph that begins with Christopher, can you read that first sentence to the jury?
Christopher and I still have a cordial relationship.
You would agree with me, that's different from what you specified to a moment ago.
It is different.
The next line says that you were in Austin, Texas that day visiting your son. Did your son live in Austin, Texas?
He was a student at UC Austin, yeah,
Do you recall being in Austin earlier in the day?
I believe so.
Because a moment ago, I remember you saying that you did not recall.
Right. I mean, now that it's here, yes,
Okay, so this is refreshing your memory.
it is.
Okay. All right. So your next statement to the police is that Christopher was at the house. You told him he needed to leave. You would like him not to be at the house when you return. Do you recall saying that to the police?
I do.
Do you recall saying that to Chris?
I do.
How did you communicate that to Chris? Was it a phone call? Was it a text message?
Phone call?
So you're okay with him being at the house, you just wanted him to be gone before you got home?
Correct.
Now, earlier you said Christopher was not supposed to be there. And you
Unless I
didn't
knew
want
about
him
it.
there.
I'm sorry.
You said Christopher was not supposed to be at the house and you did not want him there, was your testimony from a moment ago. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And now you just testified that it was okay for Christopher to be in the house so long as he was gone before you got home.
On this day, yes.
It says Christopher still has belongings in the house. Do you recall what those belongings were?
He had lots of clothes, picture frames of his kids, DVDs. I mean, there's a lot.
When you got home, was Chris there? Do you remember if Chris was there when you got home?
He was.
He was still there when you got home. Do you remember what time that was?
6:30.
And what did you say to him?
I'm sorry.
What did you say to him?
Told him he needed to leave.
Do you recall saying it was 10 o'clock earlier?
When he came back to my house.
So he left.
Correct.
Okay, so when you asked him to leave, when you first got home, he did leave? Do
At some point,
you remember what time it was that he left?
I don't recall.
Now, let me ask you this. You saw that Ring video camera. You said that it is activated by motion.
Okay.
Do you know whether or not the Ring camera recorded Chris coming and going from the house earlier in the day?
Sure it did.
Are you guessing, or did you actually see video of Chris coming and going during the day earlier?
I don't really watch all the videos throughout the day.
Don't you get a notification every time there's activity at the door?
I do.
So you get notice when somebody comes and goes.
When the ring camera goes off,
Right.
it alerts me.
Okay. So did you save any of these videos of Chris coming and going during the house? During coming and going from the house during the day?
They automatically save in my app.
Do you still have those videos?
I could look.
Is it possible you still have those videos?
Sure, I can retrieve them from 3 years ago.
Is there any reason why you didn't give those videos over to the police at the time?
Why would I give them over for coming and going in my house?
I'm asking the questions, ma'am. Is there a reason why you chose not to give those videos to the police?
Nobody asked me for them.
Okay, so you decided what to give to the police.
Of him hitting me, yes,
You decided what videos you wanted to give to the
I
police
did.
and what portions of those videos you wanted the police to
There's
see.
no portion there.
But you didn't want the police to see the portions of the video where Chris was coming and going.
Nobody asked him for those.
Melissa, how many times have you been arrested?
Judge, I'm going to object and have to be approached.
All right.
I can
Just
rephrase the
one moment.
question, Judge.
Yeah, approach. All right, defense, you may ask your next question.
Melissa, have you ever hit Chris?
Judge, same objection that we just approached.
All right, that'll be succinct.
So after 19 years with Chris, 20 plus knowing him, you would agree that you know Chris pretty well.
Yes,
Are you aware of any injuries Chris has to his right hand or had have to his right hand?
yes.
What do you recall?
One night, he was really intoxicated at our house. called KRISTOPHER. He had gone into, the secondary bathroom and got into a fight with the cops in that bathroom.
Yeah, Melissa, I'm just asking, do you know what an injury to his hand?
Yeah, something during that
happened?
fight,
His hand was broken,
correct.
okay? Are you aware, did he ever had any surgeries to his hand?
He did.
Do you know what the surgeries were?
I believe a plate might have been put into it.
He had metal put into his right hand?
I believe so, somewhere.
Okay. And it's your testimony that Chris hit you with his right hand? Or do you not recall?
I don't, I'd have to watch the video again.
So as we sit here right now, you don't even remember what hand that he hit you with?
I don't know. I guess it's left, but I can't
You
say
guys have left
100%
hand?
for sure. I don't remember. That's not important to me.
I didn't ask. It was important to me. Melissa, do you recall where Chris's hand made contact with your body?
So I recall where
Yes.
on my face,
Where on your face?
right over here,
Along the side of your eye?
from my upper cheekbone to about here.
Okay. Do you recall when the prosecution was asking you about what Exhibit 4 shows as being injuries to your face? I believe you said there is redness.
Yeah.
Okay. What portion of the picture are you saying that you see redness?
Right here
And
on my cheekbone.
on your cheekbone? What about your ear? Would you agree your ear is probably the reddest portion?
Yeah.
Of your cheek, but he didn't hit you in your ear.
He hit me right here.
Okay, but he didn't make contact with your ear.
I don't recall, so.
Well, you've never stated, correct, that he hit your ear. You said he hit you here.
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree with me that your testimony earlier that the injury you see in this picture is redness here along your eye.
Correct.
And you agree that your ear is redder than this area next to your eye.
I also fell to the ground.
You fell to the ground or you dropped the ground?
I was knocked off my feet.
You're knocked off your feet.
Watch the video.
So you fell backwards?
Yeah, my feet came out from underneath me.
Are you aware that your Ring camera has a microphone
Yes, sir.
that picks up audio?
Yes, sir.
Was it your belief at the time that that microphone was picking up the audio of the incident?
Yes.
You testified earlier that the next morning you had bruising on your face,
On my cheekbone.
on
Yeah.
your cheekbone. Okay. Did you take pictures of those injuries?
I don't recall.
As we sit here right now, so far as you know, there are no pictures of any bruises that developed on the side of your face.
Have any in my possession?
Do you recall ever taking pictures and giving them to law enforcement or anything like that?
I don't recall.
Listen, I'm going to show you again. State's Exhibit number 12. And you testified earlier that you believe this is a correct, a fair and accurate depiction of Christopher the night after this incident happened, is that right?
The night it happened, yes.
Okay. And the state asked you if there's any visible injuries to Chris's face, and do you recall your answer?
I believe I said no.
You said no. Let me ask you here, this red mark and this redness on his cheek, do you see that?
Looks like a zip.
It looks like a zit? Okay. Because that's not on Chris's face now. You'd agree with me?
Yeah.
If there are other injuries, Chris that night, other parts of his body, obviously, it wouldn't be shown in that photograph. If you agree with me.
Okay.
Would you agree with me that if Chris wanted to leave your house, he had every right to leave the house?
Yeah.
You would agree with me that if Chris was trying to leave the house, it would be wrong for you to physically try to keep him from leaving the house?
Yeah.
In the days before this incident happened, or the date of this alleged incident on June 11th, how often would you see Chris?
Oh,
Are you afraid of Chris right now?
well, intimidating.
Were you afraid a month ago when you went to his work to bring him his meal?
No, it's in public.
That's what distressed me.
All right, state.
Your Honor. Melissa, would reviewing, things exhibit number 11 to give you a refresher memory, as to which hand the defendant used to strike you?
It would.
I'm gonna show you. Things exhibit. Number 11. Sorry, just give me a second with the technology. You ready?
Yeah.
You're stupid fucking kid.
Did that refresh your memory, which hand,
Yes, sir.
which hand did he hit you with?
That's right.
What did he tell you before he struck you with his hand?
I don't know, stupid fucking bitch.
Did you use that language frequently in your relationship?
Objection, relevance.
That'll be sustained.
Um, Great, well, I'm gonna show you again what's been already admitted as I'm sorry, defendant's exhibit number 1, which is copy of your written statement that. So. Looking at in what is the, I'll call this paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph. As far as the 5th paragraph is concerned, does that have to deal with the event directly surrounding when he struck you in your face?
Objection, leading.
That'll be sustained to leaving.
What does paragraph number 5 relate to?
His drinking.
Does paragraph number 5 does that relate to your testimony on direct examination about the event that happened on June 11th, 2019?
Objection, leading and relevance.
Overall.
You can answer that question.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
I don't remember my question. Let me think about it again. Paragraph number 5, does it directly relate to your testimony on direct examination about what happened on June 11th of 2019?
Yeah.
So, is that when he was at the house and assaulted you?
Objection, leading.
That'll be sustained.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's the Market States exhibit number 13 for identification purposes. Do you recognize the person in that photograph?
I do.
And who do you recognize it to be?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as State's exhibit number 12. You remember on cross-examination when the defense asked you about this injury right here, or this marking right here?
Yeah.
In looking at State's exhibit number 12. I should ask first. State's exhibit number 12 and State's exhibit number 13. Are those the same photographs?
Fair enough.
And in looking at state's exhibit number 12, and state's exhibit, what they marked is state's exhibit number 13. There's relation to what I just pointed out, to both photos depict that.
Yes.
You say that's a fair and accurate depiction of what Christopher looked like in state's exhibit number 13?
Yeah.
And how you recognize him?
Yeah.
So we see that mark in both of those photos.
We do.
Tom said you need to state's exhibit number 13.
Your Honor, I would object because there was no testimony as to when this photograph was taken in relation to the other photograph. And has not been properly authenticated.
State, you want to ask when about, let me see the photograph, I'm sorry, number 13. All right, State, do you want to get a time frame from the witness as far as the defendant's
Yeah.
age or something?
Just ask me.
I can do my own direct exhibit. Thank you. As far as Mr. Saxon is concerned, you've been with him for a number of years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with how he has looked over those years?
I am.
Have you ever noticed that particular mark on his face before?
Objection as to when.
Oh, that'll be overruled.
You can answer that question.
Yeah, if it sits on our faces.
Object is non-responsive.
All right, that'll be sustained.
So, as far as show you what's in the United States is number 3.
But I'm sorry, Your Honor, are you withdrawing the other offer?
I'm moving on. I'm going to show you what is been right there, exhibit number 3. The offense date alleges July 28th of 2017. Do you remember that day?
Some of it, yeah.
Do you remember what what Chris Saxon looked like around that date?
Yes, sir.
Can I have any approach?
Yes.
Okay, what's been marked again, so number 13. Would this be a fair and accurate depiction of what Chris Saxon looked like on about July 28th, 2017? Now, again, I'm gonna re-offer safety to the number 13.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance. This is a photograph from a couple of years before the other photograph, and I think it's being offered for the reason to private prejudice the jury.
All right, State exhibit number 13 is admitted.
All right, Melissa. Let's show you what's been admitted. That states exhibit number 13. And states exhibit number 12. Those appear to be the same marks on each page, each picture.
Yeah.
I know this is a terrible question, and it's not a polite question, but do you remember how much you weighed about on July, oh, I'm sorry, June 11th, 2019?
Objection or otherwise.
Overruled.
You can answer that question.
I do.
I've been dieting, so I get it.
It's okay.
Do you remember about approximately what you weighed?
I weighed 162 pounds at that time.
Around this time, do you know about how much Chris weighed?
Probably about 200. More, maybe a little more.
And in looking at defense exhibit number 1. When you were married to Chris, what was he employed as?
I think
What was he employed as?
Objection relevance.
That'll be overruled.
You can answer the question.
for majority of our marriage, he was Bear County executive at the Bear County Sheriff's Office.
And is that also reflected in your statement in state's exhibit, I'm sorry, defendant's exhibit number 1?
Yes.
Are you aware of the training that he underwent in order to become a PCSO deputy?
Majority of it.
Okay. Does any of that include any type of physical training?
Absolutely.
And all of that training and experience he had, PCSO deputy, was that before or after June 11th of 2019?
Before.
This is a nicer question. How tall are you?
5'2",
Do you know how tall Chris is?
6 foot.
Yeah, I'll pass on this.
Defense.
Thank you.
And say that you would like to stop the share screen.
I'm gonna put it back onto your screen, Judge. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put all the exhibits back up here so I don't lose them.
Okay, Melissa, I'm gonna pick up actually right where the state left off. You agree with me, and I'm sure with the state, that Chris is bigger than you.
Yes, sir.
He's stronger than you.
Yes, sir.
He's taller than you.
Yes, sir.
He weighs more than you.
Yes, sir.
He was 23 years a sheriff's deputy.
He was.
He's had training in physical confrontation.
Yes.
Do you know specifically what training he's had?
Well, initially, when he got to the academy, he had lots of training in that. He would have to take.
You agree with me, after watching the video, he hit you with his right hand.
Yes, sir.
The hand that you testified earlier is full of metal.
I didn't say full of metal.
You said there's metal plate in his hand?
There's a metal plate.
There's a metal plate in his hand. Would you agree Chris knows how to hit somebody?
Absolutely.
Did you go to the doctor as a result of this incident?
I did.
When?
And you refresh my memory. If it was a Tuesday night, I went Thursday morning.
Or do you have medical records from going to the doctor?
I can get them for you. Yes, sir.
Has the state ever asked you to provide them with medical records?
Yes, sir.
Has the state ever asked you to provide photographs of any injuries?
No, sir.
I barely know.
Okay, Melissa. So my question is this. Chris, weighing way more than you, being a sheriff's deputy for 23 years, being stronger than you, being taller than you, having a metal plate in his hand, hitting you in the face. Knowing somebody, being somebody who knows how to hit someone. Your testimony is that this picture indicates the result, the culmination of all that,
Yeah, he
Yes.
open-handed hit me.
open-handed,
Yeah, he didn't punch me, he open-handed hit me.
with the front of his hand or the back of his hand.
Front of his hand.
Did you not think it would be relevant to report injuries to your face to get to law enforcement?
Never been hit like this before, no.
No, my question is, did you not think to take pictures of your injuries to give to law enforcement?
Huh?
That's what.
See,
I have no further questions.
all right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Which we like to hold Melissa.
All right. The rule has been invoked. You cannot discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state and defense. Make sure you're available for recall if necessary. You understand?
Yes.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
We call Detective Segovia.
All right, if you take the stand, please. Would you raise your right hand for me? You solemnly swear or affirm your testimony to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, can you lower your hand? If you could state your name for the record, please make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear and the jurors can hear.
Okay. My name is Ronald Soto, Detective Ronald Soto.
All right, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Segovia, how are you employed?
I'm with the San Antonio Police Department. I work in homicide.
And what is your rank with FAP?
I'm a detective.
And just generally describe to the jury, what is the process to become an officer with the San Antonio Police Department?
To become an officer, you have to go through a police academy, about 6-7 months long. After that, you do a certain amount of time on the streets, and become a detective. You got to actually test to become a detective.
So the first step of becoming a police officer is becoming a patrol officer.
Yes.
And then if you can again describe, how do you promote from a patrol officer to a detective?
After 5 years, you take a test, promotion exam, and they take the candidates from the highest scores on the test
In total, how long have you been with SAP?
for 18 years.
And when do you remember when you promoted as a detective?
In 2015, I think.
So is it fair to say on June 11th, 2019, you were a detective?
Yes, sir.
As a detective, what assignments have you had?
When I first promoted, I worked in the evidence unit for about 6 months. And then I went to the night criminal investigation detail. Actually just left there this last week. I just went to homicide on Saturday.
On June 11th of 2019, do you remember what you were assigned?
Yes, sir, at night CID.
And what is the job or function of night CID? And I should say, what does CID first stand?
That was criminal investigation detail.
And what is the function and purpose of night CID?
Primary purpose is to handle all felonies that come in overnight. Our shift starts at 7 p.m. We work to 5 a.m. Officers will call us for various questions, assisting them with some of the calls, not necessarily felonies, but for the most part, we will handle all felonies that mainly family violence felonies, aggravated assaults,
shootings, where people have been seriously injured. And we go to scenes, make sure the proper evidence is collected, and we'll generate a report.
As part of that role of the investigative function, you meet with witnesses.
Yes.
So again, directing your attention to June 11th of 2019, were you called to respond or assist on a case?
I was called to the council.
And do you recall the name of the person that you were investigating?
I don't have a report with me, but I think it was Mr. Saxon, I believe.
Would having a copy of your report help you refresh your memory?
Yes.
You got a minute, bro?
Yes.
Right, Detective, so I'm gonna show you what's been marked as safety exhibit number 14 for identification purposes. Do you recognize that document?
Yes.
And what do you recognize the document to be?
It's a prosecution guide from the South Family Second.
Is that your report?
Yes, sir.
And if you can just quickly thumb through, does it look like it's been changed or altered in any way?
No, sir.
So if you need to refresh your memory from it, please feel free to look at it, just don't read directly from it.
Okay.
So again, who is the person that you came into contact with on June 11th of 2019?
Christopher Saxon.
Okay. And when you were assigned this, do you know kind of what the scope of what you were being asked to do?
Yes.
What was that?
It was a family violence assault. Mr. Saxon had a prior conviction, I believe, for family violence, so we were investigating a assault family second, which is a felony, another felony.
And prior to meeting with him, did you talk or meet with anybody else?
The officer, we didn't go to the scene. There's a statement here of the report. I think they just brought him down, and they brought our victim down. I talked to the officer, and I think I talked to Rick. I can't recall if I did talk to Ms. Saxon, but I did talk to the officer, and I talked to the detective that was assisting me.
Well, why are you talking to the officer and the detective that's going to be assisting you?
Just to clarify the case, exactly what we're dealing with, some of the details at the scene, what the victim told the officer.
Do you use that information when interrogating Mr. Saxon?
Yes,
I'm not going to go into necessarily a lot of the specific statements, but did you meet with Mr. Saxon?
yes, I did.
Did you provide Mr. Saxon his Miranda?
Yes,
And at that time, did you know about Mr. Saxon's prior experience? Objection.
Gotta be overruled.
You can answer that question.
his experience in law enforcement. You mean?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So you gave him the Miranda warnings.
yes.
Did he have any questions about those warnings?
No, no, he didn't.
After you gave those warnings to him, did he agree to speak with you?
He did speak with you, yes.
Did Mr. Saxon make any admissions about assaulting Melissa Saxon?
No,
Prior to testifying today, were you able to review a copy of the statement?
yes,
And for those who might not know, every time you interview a witness, are those reported?
yes, sir.
And how are they reported?
At that time, it was done like a DVD disc that we had set up in our interview room.
Is it a video recording?
Yes, it's a video recording.
And does it contain audio?
Yes, it does.
Prior to you going into the room speaking with him, is it recording?
Yes, sir, it is.
And Were you able to review that recording prior to testifying today?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe about Mr. Saxon prior to speaking?
He was trying to use the phone several times. I believe the first time he called, he was trying to get a hold of Melissa, Miss Saxon, his wife. Then he made another phone call. I don't know who he talked to in the second phone call. On that call, I don't even know if he actually even talked to somebody, but he did make a statement that he had scratches on him.
And, when you talked to Mr. Saxon, did he tell you about any scratches?
No, he did not.
Did he tell you that he was injured in any way?
No, he did not.
If he would have told you, would you have inquired about those things?
Yes, sir, definitely.
But did he make any statements about any injuries on him to
No.
you?
Not to me, he did not.
Did he make any complaints that he was assaulted by anybody?
No, he didn't.
When you interviewed him, did he deny the allegations?
He did, yes.
Did he ever change that denial?
Yes, toward the end of the interview, when I told him about the video evidence that I observed. And after that, he kind of got a little emotional, got quiet. And he just said he didn't remember. If he did it, I don't remember, is what he said.
So it's deny, then well, if I did it, I don't remember. Actually,
All right, that'll be overruled. Untimely.
if you had observed, even if he didn't tell you didn't have any injuries, if you observed any injuries on him, would you have made notation of that?
Yes, the way I handle it is if I see injuries, of course, I'm gonna ask them about it. And I'm gonna have a CFI or UBI take photographs to document the injury.
And did you, not just what he told you, but did you make any observations about any injuries on him?
No, I did not.
As far as your training and experience, when you're in the academy, do you get any training as it relates to the law?
Yes,
Do you receive training as far as the penal code
yes, sir.
and code of criminal procedure?
Yes, sir.
So in your training experience, when it relates to an assault family second offense, that prior conviction, do you defer to adjudications count?
Yes,
So if somebody is granted a deferred, that is a qualifying conviction.
yes, sir.
Detective Soto, are you also aware of the nature of the relationships that qualify for an assault family second?
Yeah.
Do spouses and ex-spouses qualify as family violence?
Yes,
So I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit number 2. As it relates to Christopher Saxon and this deferred adjudication for an assault, bodily injury, or married. Is that a family violence conviction?
yes,
Judge, how less than this?
That's
Thank you, Judge. Detective, you testified that you made no observation of injuries on Christopher, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you did a full physical examination?
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
Just observed him in the state he was in at that time.
What parts of his body?
Just what I can see, his head, face, and his arms.
Okay.
I think maybe he had shorts on too. I can't remember.
The fact that you didn't observe any injuries doesn't mean that he didn't necessarily not have any.
Right, correct.
Did you take any photos of Chris's body or the portions you could see to document that there were not injuries?
No, sir, I really didn't.
When was Chris Mirandized? And actually, before I ask a question, explain to the jury, please, what does it mean to Mirandize?
So it's, we're bringing a suspect, we'll read him his rights to let him know that he doesn't have to, he has rights, he doesn't have to talk to us, he doesn't want to, or if he wants to have his lawyer present. That's a standard procedure. People we bring into the interview.
And at what point exactly did you give Chris his rights? Was it before he was in the room, after he was in the room?
It was after he'd been in the room, probably for maybe an hour, I believe.
Did you have an opinion about whether Chris was had been drinking or was intoxicated or anything like that?
I recall that, when he came in, I can't really remember for sure. I think his wife had said he'd been drinking. That was part of the,
I understand his wife has said that,
right.
but as you recall, that's not something you independently recollect.
From my initial observations, I honestly, I don't think so. I couldn't tell.
Now, you gave some testimony just now, Detective, about what deferred adjudication is. Can you explain to the jury what your deferred adjudication is?
I don't know exactly per se what the definition is. I know it's a conviction, probably a lower level conviction for a certain right violation.
Are you aware that Chris's deferred adjudication resulted in a dismissal of the case?
No, sir, I'm not.
Were you aware that Chris, the case was ultimately dismissed?
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, so you weren't aware the case was dismissed and then Chris was never found guilty?
No, I wasn't aware.
Do you recall what the alleged assault was in the earlier case?
In his other case, no, sir, I don't.
That's what.
I have no further questions.
All right, so this witness excused or subject for recall.
We have to be.
You can be excused. Thank you.
All right, the rule has been invoked, but that means you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state and the defense. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
You're not at this time, state rest.
All right, defense.
Your Honor, we'd like to take a break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, I'm going to give you a short break. If you could be back at 4:40 for me, please. And remember, you've heard some evidence in this case, but you're not allowed to discuss it amongst yourselves or begin your deliberations. I'll let you know you can start with deliberations, okay? All right, everyone, please rise. Okay, be seated. Yes, you can go on mute.
Are we good?
Oh, now you all are switching places on me. I have noticed. Okay. Everyone, please be seated. All right, the state has rested. Is that correct, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, defense, do you have any witnesses?
Judge, the defense does not intend to call.
All right, do you rest?
Defense rest.
State, do you close?
Take right.
Rest and close.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the jury, let me explain to you what's going to happen now. I'm going to release you all. We're going to come back at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And what I can tell you is there is no one on the docket for tomorrow, so we will start exactly at 9. You've heard some evidence in this case. You're not allowed to deliberate about it or talk about it to yourself. You're not allowed to speak to anyone else about this. You're not allowed to do any type of media research. Although I don't expect this to be in the media, but if it were, you need to turn that off. If somebody tries to speak to you about it, you need to tell them you're not allowed to talk to them about it because you're on the jury panel, okay? Does everyone understand? All right, so we're going to come back tomorrow at 9 a.m. and what will happen is I'll read to you what's called the jury charge, and then both the state and the defense will have a chance to give closing arguments to you if they so choose. Does everyone understand?
Yeah.
All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. Oh, and you guys going to beat rush hour traffic. All right, everyone can be seated. And we will start up tomorrow.